bullseye. Chase the bad guys and shoot them down. Climb the mountain, kill the dragon, and if you don't win, steal the crown. Keep your Cinderella from the wrong hands. Hold her body close enough to squeeze and choke her. Pain is the same if you ask me, but nobody asked me. Solid gold is only for the best man. Everything below is for the rest of them. Who can understand that you marry the girl that you marry? Something about the way that she calls you, baby, when you want. What's the point of saying she'll keep you waiting if she won't? Heard she likes to gamble, then make it count. Heard she likes to party, then keep it down. Sew it up, shut your mouth, up and down, in and out, lock it up, keep it tight, fall in love, get her right. She's a home run, a Californian, and you're the first one to break her down like a good man. You use a strong hand, protect your girl and keep her on the ground. Keep your Cinderella from the wrong hands. Hold her body close enough to squeeze and choke her. Pain is the same if you ask me, but nobody asked me. Solid gold is only for the best man. Everything below is for the rest of them. Who can understand that you marry the girl that you marry?
All right, everyone, that was Solid Gold by Wolfy featuring Ren. Say that, Madison?
Ren Farron and Katie Skeen.
And Katie Skeen. All right, everyone, welcome to the Live Life podcast. I have a very special guest, my good friend who I don't really talk to that often, Madison Shekel.
What a crazy intro.
That song was off of your recent EP.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that project a little bit? Yeah.
Basically, it is 5 songs. It's the first EP in a trilogy, and it's 5 songs that I wrote and produced, but that I do not sing. I only sing one of them, so I got my super rad friends to sing on them.
I think that's so awesome. I think it's like such a perfect way that you created like your first EP because knowing you, I think it really speaks to like how you know, like involve your community and your friends. Like it's your friends.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And your friends are all really talented.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I was just inspired. Well, first of all, I really just don't like singing that much, and I feel like I can write and produce a lot of songs that are outside of my vocal range.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's stuff that I would love to make that wouldn't sound great with my voice. So it only makes sense to have my super rad friends sing them, because then I write them for my friends, and then it just sounds great. It sounds better than it would if I sang it.
Is Maddie on it?
She's going to be on the second one.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Maddie is the girlfriend. Amazing,
the
wonderful,
girlfriend.
beautiful lady.
Exactly.
She'll be on the next one of these.
Dude, that's amazing.
Okay, so kind of got ahead of ourselves, but yeah. Madison and I, friends from high school.
Ooh.
We were some just awkward, close-looking Jewesses back in the day.
Dude,
So can
insane.
you just kind of tell everyone about yourself, where you grew up? You know, I know obviously I know the story, but
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, my story is very boring, and I don't really remember a lot of it. I was telling Livia earlier, I feel like I'm a little bit on the spectrum, and like I just kind of only focus on what I'm doing now and tomorrow, and I never look back and I never think about it.
That's awesome.
But like my story is just like, I was thinking about this earlier when you told me to think about my story. My story is just like so boring. It's like essentially the same as if I'd been created in a lab, but it's not even as interesting as that.
Stop.
Like, I have a nice, normal family. Grew up in Pasadena. Went to a Jewish day school for a little bit, then went to a college prep school, middle school and high school. Went to USC, studied music, and here I am. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. What did you like study in at USC? How was that?
I studied music. I studied popular music, which was, I was in the second graduating class of that major. So basically, when it came time to start looking at schools, I just kind of figured, like, I'll just go to some, like, small liberal arts school. I'll study English or something because I love reading. But then we were touring schools, and USC's, you know, they did, like, their whole tour of, like, here's our brand new music program. Like, does anyone play guitar? And I had been looking at other music schools. So there's, like, NYU's, and there's, like, a random songwriting program at a school in Nashville. And USC's just seemed to be the most upfront about what the curriculum was, and it sounded a lot like something I would be into. And so then it was just like, well, okay, I'll add that to the pile. And yeah, it was basically just like School of Rock. That was it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we played covers, and we like wrote songs, and we had like shows that were finals or whatever.
Was there like a narrative arc, you know, with like a disgruntled teacher or something in the same way?
No, it wasn't as fun, honestly. It was like a lot of teachers, or not even teachers. It was like our teachers would be, you know, like the touring keyboardist of the Eagles, and it's like that's
Nice.
cool for him, but like, has he ever taught kids before?
Yeah.
So it was. I mean, again, I was in the second graduating class, so it was like brand new. So there was like a lot of work to be done. So we left the program feeling like, what was that?
Yeah. So I can imagine what a typical music program would look like. What's the difference between music or a specific instrument or performance piece and popular music? And is that industry or is that performance only?
Yeah, so you can like study music at a school, and it can be like a study of music where you don't have to perform.
Right.
Like you get like a BA or something. But the popular music major was very specifically a performance major, and it was the entire curriculum was built around the main class, which was performance class, which is basically just where we would play covers. Which
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
exactly. We never even so dumb, dude. Basically, the curriculum it was actually pretty cool because it was super rigorous, much like a classical or a jazz degree would be, where we had to take like 2 years of theory, 2 years of ear training. We had to be in an ensemble. You know, we had to do however many years or semesters of individual instruction. So, you know, if you're a guitarist, you take guitar lessons or vocal lessons or whatever. We had to do drumming proficiency and keyboard proficiency. We had to take like recording classes. So it was like for the first 2 years, it was busy for sure. But then we had this performance class that was, you know, every week they'd be like, okay, here are 3 songs, go learn them. You have to have at least, you know, like 3 hours of rehearsal every week. And so that was pretty cool. But it was rigorous. But that was it. It was just playing just anything that's not jazz or classical. So just a bunch. So we started with like 50s, you know, like we did like obviously the Beatles, because I guess people really like the Beatles. I guess white people really love the Beatles. But yeah, so we started in the 50s with like Patsy Cline and the Beatles and Roy Orbison, and then from, you know, first semester freshman year to second semester sophomore year, then we made it up to like current times. We could be like, can we please just play the songs we like? Or they'd be like, oh, why don't you play this random song that I used to love? You know, I'd be like, what are you talking about? What is happening?
This original piece by Led Zeppelin that wasn't stolen.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, what was like, did anyone do any really like egregious, like super poppy pop songs, like any early 2000s Britney, and like just totally make it their own? Like,
Yeah.
do you have any cool like memories of performances that stuck out?
I mean, basically, the idea was you had to make the performance almost exact. It was like, learn what's on the record, like do what's on the record. Like I remember Maddie, a band that Maddie was in, did Baby, Baby, by the Supremes.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end, their band added a halftime section. And then the teacher was like, that's not on the record. Like, you get like a C. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, we just played a show at the coffee shop. Like, we all got milkshakes. You can't just like throw out grades. So it was like, it had to be like pretty strict and true to the arrangement that was recorded. But then it just felt like really arbitrary, the songs that we had to play. But there was a in the class above us, someone had to play Teenage Dream. But kids are so dumb, and we don't know anything at that time. And also, like, there was not an emphasis on production or, like, playing the tracks. So it just sounded bad. So there wasn't a lot of, like, real pop. And once our class got a little bit older, we started integrating, like, more tracks and more ambitious things to include in our performances. But I don't know. It was rough.
Yeah. So, by and large, USC, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs medium. Like,
I mean, I literally would not be here if it weren't for the program.
Mm-hmm.
And I met literally, like, everyone who's on my EP went to USC.
Right.
Like, almost everyone except for the guy who mastered it went to USC.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool community. And even though the program is still going through growing pains, there is a certain standard that, like, if I'm looking for a new drummer or a guitarist or just any kind of recommendation, I know that if you went through the USC program, you at least achieve this standard.
Right.
Of, like, having played this many hours, done this stuff.
Do people in the industry know that? Has there been enough time yet for that to be, like, reputable? I mean, it's USC. Obviously, it's a good school.
Yeah. The interesting thing about it is that it kind of boasts that, you know, being School of Rock, I feel like the goal is that it's supposed to make, like, really successful recording artists. And unfortunately, it hasn't yet. One, because it's young. Two, because that's extremely hard. But, like, the only successful act to have really come out of USC is Muna. Have you heard of them? They're opening for Harry Styles. They're very cool. My friend Brian is playing bass for them.
Nice.
But that's kind of the only act, because session musicians and touring musicians have always been coming out of USC for a really long time. So, like, I know the guitarist who plays with Big Sean, or I know
That's awesome.
or, like, you know, like my friend Brian who plays for Muna, like, he also toured with Gwen Stefani.
Nice.
But that's not necessarily because of the program that's been happening for a while. So the jury's still out on whether or not it's, like, worth your $200,000. But I guess it was worth mine. I can't take it back.
Right. That's a good point. So you graduated.
I graduated.
And did you have, like, I mean, for some reason I'm really fascinated by what you studied because it just seems so different.
It was really different.
A typical college experience. And so, but did you also have the, like, post-college, like, what the fuck am I doing? Because I'm currently in that. It's been a few years, but, like...
Well, see, that's what's so interesting is, like, because I also said to Livy earlier, like, I feel like I'm living, like, as if I woke up at 8 years old and my parents had just disappeared. Like, I'm not literally eating ice cream sundaes and, like, staying up till 3 a.m., but, like, that's kind of what I'm doing. So because, like, I essentially feel like I left school after high school. I feel like I put in all my time.
Got it.
And, like, all that homework and all that intellectual stuff. And then I decided, like, pretty early on, because I made that decision to study popular music, I feel like I just decided, like, okay, well, this is how I'm going to spend my life, doing exactly what I love, or doing this, essentially a hobby. I mean, it's like my passion, it's my career, whatever. But it's essentially, like, the thing that all throughout high school and my entire life, if I had free time, it would be to do music.
Yeah.
And then once I left high school, I decided to just spend all my free time doing music, and so now it's become my career. But I didn't feel that kind of, because I made that decision early on. When I graduated college, I didn't feel like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
It was pretty easy. I felt really lost in college.
Yeah.
I was super, super depressed for, like, the first 2 years, which I think is, like, a common experience for a lot of people I've talked to, especially, like, a lot of creative people I've talked to. I was really not having a great time. And then also just like because of the nature of like the young program and how hard and miserable it is to actually be a musician, I was just kind of like, well, I don't really know what to do. Like everything that my teachers are telling me I should do after college just sounds so boring and like not what I want to do at all. So then but like a few months before I graduated, I had this idea for the EP, or for, I basically my big problem all of college was I was like, I really love writing songs and I think I would really love producing, but I don't really want to be an artist. So what do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do? And then I realized that I can just do whatever I want because a lot of my friends were doing Kickstarters around the time, and I love independent music and independent artists. And then it became really clear. It's like, I could write songs and produce songs and just have other people sing them. It's as easy as that.
Yeah.
So I did not feel that kind of confusion or like lack of direction. Now I'm just kind of having a good time and just hoping that someday I'm not poor anymore.
Nice. So, album and producer name is Wolfy, right?
Just the producer name.
Oh, sorry.
The artist name, yeah,
right.
is Wolfy. And then the trilogy is a Blood, Ink, whatever. So Blood came out in August. Ink's going to come out, I think, around February or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think you should talk about why Wolfy.
Well, I needed a name, and my friend Caitlin is really good with names, and her artist name is Huxley, like Aldous Huxley, and then we were throwing around other authors' names because I read a lot. I'm like super smart. But she mentioned Virginia Woolf, and then we came up with Wolfy, and I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like I used to have this massive German Shepherd Siberian Husky named Wolfgang, and we always called him Wolfy, and I've always loved wolves. I used to have this wolf puppet that I would carry around. Like it was a stuffed animal. I never used it as a puppet, to be clear. But I was like obsessed with wolves.
Did you have one of those shirts where it was like a pack of wolves howling at the moon?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like Sam McCarthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm very familiar, but no, I didn't have that. But I just loved, just, can I curse? I fucking loved wolves, dude. Just as a kid, I was like super into it. So it just seemed like a natural step.
Nice. So there's Blood. So why Blood, Ink, whatever?
Well, the idea for 3 EPs, I made, again, I'm like a little on the spectrum. So I'm like super, I think I'm really creative, but I'm super, super left-brained about that creativity. So like to me, music makes a lot of sense because I hear a song, I ingest it, I analyze it, I break it into its component parts, and then it seems really easy to me to recreate that. So
right.
If someone's like, I don't know, that's just why production and songwriting, I think, comes really easily to me, because it feels really formulaic, but it can also be really creative. But I was like, okay, I'm like working on my debut music. Like, what are the songs? I made a list of the songs I wanted to write, and then I made a list of the artists that I wanted to write songs specifically for. Mm-hmm. And I made this huge list, and I was initially like, well, I'll just do an EP. An EP is short for extended play, which exists from records when it would be like a short little like 15, 20 minute, like not an album. It was shorter. Now what EP means is I don't have enough money to make an album.
Got it.
So artists release EPs, which is like anywhere from 3 to 5, 6 songs. So I knew that I should just focus and start small, but I made this massive list and I was like, well, I'll do 15 songs. I'll just do 15. So then once I broke it down and like organized the songs into like groups that would make sense with each other, then it just came out to 3. And I don't know. Oh, I do know. There's a line that references blood, ink, whatever, in one of the songs on the second one. And I just had this idea, this image of a writer like Hemingway, like writing furiously into the night, like whether it's like with a pen or on a typewriter or anything. And then like he's writing furiously, and then he's done and he gets into bed with his wife or lover or whatever, and he gets like ink all over her. because he's been writing furiously. And I guess the idea was, I don't know, you can extrapolate like what that actually means. I don't really care. If you did extrapolate something, it would probably be like you can't keep the ones you love clean from your work. But I just thought that was a cool image. And so there's a line in I think it's going to be the opening song on the second EP that's, I don't care if it's blood, I don't care if it's ink, I don't care, just leave whatever in my bathroom sink. If I get blood in your hair, if I get ink on your chest, I don't care, just wear whatever, I think you look your best.
Well,
So,
Jesus, that's good.
so that's the 3 EPs. So
Nice.
Blood came out. It's mainly like full band, a lot of acoustic real instruments. Ink's going to come out in February. It's more like programmed, electronic, a little darker in mood. And then the last one is like a lot of like upbeat rock, poppy, fun, stupid stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that image that you have with
Thank
like
you.
the writer. I think that's really cool. So what is it like to be a creator, to be a writer, and you know, how does it seep into like love and relationships, friendships, family, romantic, whatever?
Well, it rules for the people around me, just so you know, because I'm not like one of those super emotional people. Like Taylor Swift, where it's like, don't do anything, I might write a song about it. Like, I'm not that at all. Like, it doesn't occur to me to, writing music is not an outlet for my emotions.
Got it.
So I don't think it bothers people in that way, like it normally does, but the way that it affects the people closest to me is it's literally all I care about.
Yeah.
It's just music. It's like all I think about. Like Maddie and I, my friend texted us our little group chat, and she was like, do you ever just go out and you're at a coffee shop just trying to enjoy your day, and there's like some musician next to you, you know, like planning their shitty musician life? And I was like, no, I am that person, Ren. Like, I am. Like, every time Maddie and I go out, I'm just like, you know what makes me mad about the music industry today? Like, here's what makes me mad. Here's why people are so dumb. And she's like, can we not do that, please? Because all I do is just rant about music and the industry and what I think should be happening, what everyone else is doing wrong. So that's how it.
Well, duh.
So that's how it bothers other people. Is that it's just all I care about.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything else. Or people be like, yeah, do you know my friend, this person? I'll be like, yeah, they're really bad at music, so I can't talk to them. Yeah.
That's awesome. So one of the goals that I have with this podcast is to be able to have women identifying people tell their stories in a way that makes it easier for other women to see that, you know, anywhere, whatever you define success, just to be like, you know, you've probably heard with like, you know, you can't be what you can't see type situation. Right. And the idea started off with women working in male-dominated industries, which technically speaking you do. But I think it's also cool because you do work in a male-dominated industry, but you also have like a girl gang. Yeah. And that's like your people. Yeah. And I think that's so, like, why, I mean, not why, you never know why someone is in your community, but like, how does that community buffer other things that you might encounter?
Well, I was thinking about that earlier. And I'm really, really fortunate to not encounter a lot of sexism. One, here are the tips. Here's how not to encounter sexism. One, don't talk to men. Two, don't talk to anyone. But I work with mainly women, and it's only by choice because they are the people I want to hang out with. But it's not like I'm like, only girls allowed. It's just that a lot of the artists, like singers, songwriters, you know, artists that I really, really like, are female, and then we hang out and I ask them to sing on my song, and then we become friends. But the like production and engineering side of music is just littered with men and like no women, and it's extremely frustrating because you can and this goes for women in every situation. You can never be sure if they're being mean to you or weird because you're a woman, or if that's just how they are. Like, I can never for sure point it out, but like I was basically what I spend half my time doing, or like I do everything all the time. That's my New Year's resolution. Do everything faster all the time. But I assist an engineer, a mixing and recording engineer at his home studio, which is like, it's not just like a little room with monitors. It's like a fully fledged professional studio. But I assist him, and we were tracking this guy's drums for a project. So it's the producer and the drummer. And the producer, we spent like the whole day together. And granted, I'm not the kind of like social extrovert that's going to be like, hey, how are you? Like, blah, 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 blah. But we spent the whole day together, and I was like setting up the mics and doing all this stuff. I'm running back and forth. And then we're finally like having lunch, like, you know, about like 4 or 5 hours later. And he just looks at me and he's like, what's your deal? I was like, what? What's my deal?
Hey, broad.
Like, what's your deal, Tubby? Like, what do you mean, what's my deal? Like, just that's just such a rude thing to ask anyone.
It's so real, though, that, like, mistrust of your own feelings or your own intuition.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if he said that because I'm a girl. I don't know if he said that because I'm a stranger. I don't know if he said that because he's, like, the meanest guy in the world. But, like, but it's just stuff like that where it's a very casual, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Or, I don't know. It's so crazy. It's really frustrating. There are just so many. The most frustrating thing that I see is a lot of average white dudes just experiencing astronomical success for no reason. You know, like I'm extremely competitive. I'm extremely ambitious, and I'm totally a Slytherin, dude. I'm totally a Slytherin. But I just always assume that like everyone's my enemy and everyone's out to get me, and I have to be the best at what I do. So I like constantly, you know, like doing my reps. And I'm practicing and I'm getting better, and then I assume that everyone actually knows what they're doing, and then they'll come into the studio and I'll be like assisting, and I'll see these average white guys, and they'll be like, or, you know, the engineer will do something and be like, what if we do this? And the producer will be like, yeah, that could be cool. They're like, I don't know, what do you think? And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, you're making how much money? You've got how many gigs? And meanwhile, I'm like at home sweating, like I got to be able to make decisions, and I got to do this, and this is the kind of artist I want to be, and this is the kind of producer I want to be. And then I just see these average white dudes.
Yeah.
And like, again, not to be like super mean about this guy's looks, but like this guy's like almost 30. He's like this tubby, bearded dude who just asked me like, what's my deal? Like, what's my deal?
Bro, what's your deal?
It's just crazy. It's just dudes doing whatever they want, and then girls feeling like they have to like be the best and like earn their place. And so I've got a lot of female friends, and unfortunately, like I'm the only, and it was kind of this way in school too, is I was the only female guitarist in my class. Other girls played guitar proficiently, but I was the only one that was like,
That's your like.
Yeah, that's my instrument, and I took on a lot of like lead duties and whatever, but it's the same. I'm the only one of my circle of friends who's like really gotten into the engineering and the producing.
Right.
So it's cool because now like my female friends, I'm sure they feel more comfortable with me than they would working with dudes, but I still would love to see like, I don't know any other female engineers or producers.
I was gonna ask what about women of color, but after that last answer, then that's, I'm guessing, a definite no.
No, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, USC, there are so many white people. Like we had a few black kids, and then I don't think we had any Asians, but it was very homogenous. Yeah. Which I feel like just totally hurts the whole point of music in the first place.
Right.
So that's definitely something to be considered looking forward.
I think I'm really excited to have like you here and your perspective, because I go to a lot of older people and older women for advice. Yeah. You know, like first guest on the podcast was my mom, and that was amazing, and she has a lot of insight. Mom, I'm not saying you're old.
I have a lot of really old friends.
But it's a lot easier to listen to someone give advice when they seemingly have it all figured out, you know? Like, not to say that you
no,
don't.
Here's the thing, though. My friend, I did his podcast, and he's like, Mac, and I love you, but he's like, classic indie sad boy. He's like, I just really, like, I feel guilty all the time because, it's like, who cares, dude? Who cares?
Yeah.
But he asked me, he was like, do you ever feel insecure? I was like, no, I never feel insecure. What's the point, dude?
Yeah.
What's the point? And I think a lot of that is, like, how I almost have Asperger's, but also it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So what were you saying about
No,
me having
I
all
mean,
figured out?
No, I mean, it's kind of just like, it seems more real to me to have this conversation with you because
Right.
it's not like, well, you have a family and you have, years to look back on, and it's like, well, when I was in my 20s, it was going this way, and then as I grew older, like, this is how I did this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, this right now is happening.
Yeah.
This right now is an issue, and we don't necessarily have the solution.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think, like, I mean, any woman or any non-white person can identify to in any space whatsoever. And it's kind of like, it becomes a reality when we start telling the stories.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I wish that we had more people of color and it's the exact same thing. Like a friend mentioned to me and Maddie once that he really enjoys female producers because there's something that's so distinctly like other about the productions that isn't. He wasn't like, yeah, you could tell when a girl produces something because there are fucking flowers in it. But he
On their periods.
But he was like, yeah, like you can tell when a girl is producing something because it's different than
Yeah.
when men produce something. And I was like, yeah, like you're totally right. And fortunately, that's also true of like when people of color make music.
And then it gets stolen.
And then it gets stolen by the Beatles. Because it's like it's just a whole different. It's a different thing.
Yeah,
it's a different thing, and it's a shame that we didn't have that perspective in our class. It was
Right.
it was so narrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Final few questions, some relevant, some not.
Love it.
If you had any advice to someone who wanted to, pursue a career and maybe, on the performance side and then the production engineering side, where do I start?
Do you want like literal advice or like spiritual, emotional advice?
Whatever suits you best.
Okay, well, first thing you do, here's the thing. Here's the first thing you do. If you're considering pursuing a career in music, here's what you do right now. You ask yourself, do I love this enough to do it if I'm not famous and if I'm not rich? Like what are you willing to do and what are you willing to not do?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are doing this to be rich, then you're an idiot. And if you're doing this to be cool, then you're also an idiot because no one's fucking cool. Musicians are the stupidest, worst people on the planet. So you should only be doing this because because you are obsessed with it and because you love it. If you want to be rich, go fucking get a job at Apple, dude. And if you're not fucking smart enough to get a job at Apple, then I don't want you in my musician world. I don't want to just know dumb musicians. So really only do it if you really, really, really love it and you're committed to it, because otherwise you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. Literal advice is just do it. Just do it. Like, don't listen to what anyone else says. Don't ask other people for permission. Just if writing songs or singing or recording interests you, just do it without caring. Like, just open GarageBand and just start doing it. And don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry if your ideas are too big or if they're too expensive. Like, just do it. Like, don't worry about all the other, because, well, then the other thing is, like, people get really caught up in their emotions and whatever, which is not something that I feel. But I know that there are like a lot of emotional barriers to performing and to writing and to being creative. But I would just advise people to just not worry about that.
Don't do that.
Just don't do that. Just don't waste your time. Yeah.
That's awesome. Definitely. To me, the thing that speaks that stands out the most is don't ask for permission.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm kind of just figuring that out right now. It's like just do the things you want to do.
Yeah, like it's pretty easy if you just do it.
It's actually awesome.
It's awesome.
It's
it makes
really
you feel
awesome.
good, and no one knows what they're doing, dude.
Yeah.
No one does.
Absolutely no one.
No one.
That's the second. I've been talking to a lot of different people recently about their careers, just kind of see what's out there. And actually, everyone I've spoken to says no one has any idea what they're doing. They're just doing it.
They're just doing it, dude. They're just doing it. So hopefully you like what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Another question. What's on the playlist today?
What do you mean?
Like, what are you listening
What am I
to?
listening to? Caro Caro Bonito is a group from England. It's two dudes and a girl. And they're like video game influenced,
Nice.
but like still super pop, like not quite chiptune, but they're just so fun. And that's been like my favorite thing recently. Also got to give a shout out to Lizzo.
Oh my God.
You know her, dude?
Oh my God. Lizzo single-handedly helped me do well in my recent jiu-jitsu competition.
What song in particular? Any or
Oh, now here it goes. You know that one?
yeah,
Worship.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
I found that EP last year when it came out, and I was like, this is like the best music I've heard in the past like 5 years. This is
Yes!
this is insane. And ever since I found her last year, I've just been like hanging on her every Instagram post and just like really excited for her stuff. So I think she's like one of the more talented people right now. I'm thinking if there's anyone else I should give a. No, that's it. I'll be selective.
Okay. What's my last question? Your most recent guilty pleasure.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not really guilty about anything.
Okay.
But guilty pleasure. I watch the Golden Girls at night. I'm not guilty about it. But
Other people might project that guilt onto you.
like whatever. I don't think I do anything that embarrassing.
Nice. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're just about out of time. Is there anything else you want to add? Any last message or shout out or anything like that?
No.
No?
No, I'll
Okay.
keep it to myself.
All right. We're going to play your... Which is the next song I'm playing?
It's called Wasted on the Young.
Okay. All right, everyone. Wasted on the Young by Wolfy, featuring... Who is it?
Huxley and Aman Alem.
All right. Thanks, everyone. You can hit me up on @live.r_ on Instagram, and we'll see you next time.
Don't you ever get bored? You've given up on the Vegas weekends, traded in all the friends you've never liked. Come on, baby, don't lie. Don't you miss all the doors all open? Don't you think it was fun not being alone? I remember your folks, mom and dad on the couch on Friday. Hell man, that's the way to live your life. But I'm a little too shy, I'm a little too stuck in my ways. I'm a little too scared you'll change your mind. Now you read the news, now I'm over the line. No amount of crowded bars could ever get us out of our bed. Wasted on the young, what's it even mean? I remember we were 17 and I was stone cold, bone dry, no lie, so in love with you. I wanna marry you now, buy your hands for $1 million, all the friends and a and maybe we'll be straight-laced concrete, but you know I'm no grown-up hero. I'm fun and dumb and young and so in love with you. So in love with you. Maybe we'll be straight-laced concrete, but you know I'm no grown-up hero. I'm fun and dumb and young and so in love with you. Now you settle down, ain't it such a shame? Told you you were made for me, now you cannot get it out of your goddamn head. Wasted on the young, what's it even mean? I remember breaking down your door to say that nothing's ever gonna change it. I was 17, but you know, I know we are finally growing up.
Woo! And that's it.